Hello. So I know I haven't posted a video in quite some time. Obviously, life's nuts. I want to talk about something about myself. So when I was younger, I could sense or see spirits, as in people who have passed on. They were like shadow figures, and I could kind of guesstimate like their ages. I grew up in Washington Crossing, Pennsylvania, and there were two shadow people that I could sense. One that was like, I would say like late 20s, and it was a male, and he just liked to hang out. And then there was always a female shadow person. I lived in a house that we had a stream in the backyard, and she would hang out in like the back corner of the stream, and like she didn't give me a good vibe, and like now I question on whether or not she's like the shadow part of me or someone who was watching out for me. I had reoccurring dreams when I was younger too about like that house, that had to do with bears and wolves. The wolf pack was always coming after me, where I lived, but there was also a separate area, and the dream would shift sometimes, and it was always me running away. And there was even a certain one where I would be in my room looking out the window, and the wolves were right there. Years later, I'm half Colombian. My mother is Colombian, and she said that there was a psychic that lived beneath my grandmother in my grandmother's apartment. So it was a multi-apartment building. And she was like, all we have to do is like give him your age. And I was like, haha, okay, like whatever. Because I wasn't sure if like I was, am I crazy? Am I just seeing this shit? Like, what is this? Excuse my language, whatever. And we go into the guy's like room, and he's sitting in front of me, and my mom's standing in the corner because I didn't speak Spanish at the time, and she would have to interpret it. And the first thing he says is, "You're one of us." And I know that my whole face just probably went white. And he said, "You were somewhere you weren't supposed to be." And at that time, and now it's a place. So I was seeing someone in college, and he said that his friend's house was about to be condemned, and that we could go over there and just like take what we wanted or like destroy stuff. And I was like, okay, whatever, that sounds like a good time, why not? We go there, and at one point I started repeatedly, like I became overwhelmed with rage and started punching this like door in the kitchen. And I grabbed the guy that I was seeing at the time, and I was like, we need to get out of here right now. And so we leave the home, and it's at night, and we're walking on the road. And I said, what happened in that house? And he said that a son had murdered his mom upstairs in that home. So that's probably what that man that was the psychic was referring to. And then there was one time when I was sleeping, like dead asleep, and I got punched in the face, and no one was there, and I was terrified. And right after I got hit in the face, it felt like a child's hands were pushing on my back repeatedly, and I just kept repeating to myself, "Vicky, just fall asleep. Vicky, just fall asleep. Vicky, just fall asleep." And I fell back asleep. I told my mom the next day, and she said, like, why didn't you scream for help? And I just, how do you, when you're young and you have these abilities and you don't know how to fight something like that, like how do you fight something that's not there, that literally hit you? And then later on, I was in a church, and for a reason like unknown to me, I collapsed to my knees and said that, like, I offered up my soul, essentially, to protect my family. I said, you can have me, just leave my family alone and let my family be protected. That was a mistake, or a part of my life path. Right after that happened in that church, I was drawn directly to the cemetery, and it brought me straight to someone that I knew, plaque, or like the stone in the ground that said his name and stuff. And at this cemetery, only people who have the last name of that area could be buried there. So it's in a place called Yardley, Pennsylvania. And I had met this man in a facility where I had attempted suicide on myself. And I had met him in that facility, the inpatient I was at. And he was very sad, and he was so kind and so nice. And I knew that he had taken his life. So I kept visiting him, and I could see him, like, physically. I even brought my parents there to show them. Well, they can't see spirits. They don't have my abilities. And then one day, as I was walking, there's a stone wall along the cemetery, and I heard knocks come from in the walls. So 3 knocks, which is a mock of the Holy Trinity. So Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That happened once, and in my head I said, you know, I'm a daughter of God. You can't have my soul. I keep walking, and this is like during the day, or maybe like late in the afternoon, and then I hear it again, and I say it out loud. You know, I'm a child of God. You cannot have me or my soul. And then I keep walking, and it happens for a 3rd time. So that's the mock of the Holy Trinity 3 times in a row. So 9 knocks in total. I was wearing a cuff that I'd worn many times. It wasn't gold, it wasn't silver, it was fake. I bought it somewhere at the mall, and it had a cross on it. And then I felt like, as if I was like the genie in Aladdin, this cuff and the same area on my opposite arms felt like it got incinerated, like burned. And then from there, my abilities and like my fight against whatever I had offered my soul up to took a 3-month. So at that point in time, it was me being in psychosis. But there's so many things that had occurred during that time, or that I had foreseen in a way, that like I was shipped all over the country to different doctors, different inpatients, for 3 months straight. Like no doctor could figure things out. Like even every doctor I went to, like whatever medications they would give me, like it was still what was going on, which looked like I was like nuts. And like at that time I was like, yeah, I was nuts. Like I don't know, you know, what would onset that, other than now knowing that it was from me offering my soul up. And at the last facility that I was at, which was the University of Utah, a woman came in for like one of the therapy groups, and she did like tarot cards. And she told me that I was a shaman, and that the top of my like totem pole of like spirit animal was a raven, which is like all protecting, and like watchful. And you know, at the time I was just like, oh cool. And this I had gone into psychosis, or things hit the fan exactly on my 21st birthday. I was in Las Vegas. I had won like a 4-day stay there. And things just went haywire. I don't know if it was because of it's just, you know, the city of sin. And like, I'm not like the most religious person. I'm spiritual. I believe that there's a greater thing than us, but I've always told people that we are gods of ourselves. We make our own choices, and what happens after is what happens after. You're the one that chooses what you say, what you do, and you know, there's karma. So I know I'm like all over the place. I do this all the time, but so I was shipped around the country for 3 months straight, and there's a bunch of like minor stories of that point in time that I do remember. I would sing a lot at these places, and there was just always like, I was always an empath since I was younger, so I could connect with other people's emotions. Like, I would get in sync with other people's emotions. But I didn't know like how far the extent was up until recently on my 25th birthday this past September. It was like the spiritual floodgates had opened. So not only now do I have the abilities to sense the dead, but I can speak to them, hear them, and I can also feel living people, like physically. Like my muscle movements will match some of their muscle movements. If someone's lying, I can feel, I would feel something on the right side of my body, and if they were telling the truth, it would be on the left side of my body. I mean, there's a lot for me to like cover, and I'm going to keep making these videos. And like, if people just say, oh, she's crazy, oh, she's nuts, that's fine. But like, being what I am and who I am and wanting to always like help people, you know, and I wouldn't want to hurt anybody, ever. But obviously there may be circumstances where like, if my life was threatened or other people's lives have been threatened, that I would put up a fight. And there have been occasions where, you know, I was in danger. There's so many things for me to talk about, like to be able to hear the dead and for the dead to like physically touch you, is exhausting. And I'm not scared of it. I'm not scared of death. But it's weird. And it, you know, continuously I say, yes, it's nuts. Like I didn't particularly ask for these abilities. And sometimes it does feel very overwhelming, to know the amount of suffering or like to feel the dead all the time. Especially when it's like little kids. I can feel like tugging at my hand. Things have moved around like my apartment, and like sometimes things are just gone. And like any form of like jewelry, especially that was like old jewelry, helps connect to like that period in time. But being able to connect to people to this extent, to the point where I can even hear and feel what someone's like, it's a form of telepathy almost. And my name now gets repeated a lot, from the living and the dead. So if someone's talking about me or thinking about me, like I can hear it, especially when it comes to like people that are really close to me or that I've made a connection with. And it's absolutely exhausting. And there's people from when I was younger was like, oh, why don't you be like Pennsylvania's like medium? And at that point in time, I was like, no, absolutely not. I don't want to do that. I help the people I can help when I see them, and when I saw them when I was younger, like, especially it would connect to like jewelry. Like, it's almost like Harry Potter and the Horcruxes, right? if somebody passed away, right, and you have a piece of jewelry or they gave you a piece of jewelry, the not extreme emotions, but the strong emotions of like, life is like yin and yang, love and hate. So when there are those extreme emotions, they stay. Those emotions stay. Your emotions are valid. The emotions of the people who had passed away are valid. Some people's time is taken before it was supposed to be, or someone took their life. And sometimes the people, I call it the in-between, some of them don't know that they've died or they're lost or trapped here and don't know how to go to their happy place, to the light, to their reincarnate. There's multiple different things that can like occur, and like these you guys have your beliefs and stuff, but like I can only tell you what like I experience. But when I can feel that they are trapped, I try my best to guide them to the light or to their happiness or to their next life. But there are things that aren't human that do come through as well. And they try to scare you. They threaten your life. Recently, one came through that said that my soul belonged to him, that I shouldn't make an attachment to anybody, like in a way of like dating and things like that, because I was his to have, that they would destroy the relationship, things of that like variety. And like it doesn't scare me, but it does hurt. It does hurt to be told something like that. And when you're someone who has these abilities, it does get extremely lonely and hard, because I could tell when someone was like lying in the past. Like I knew when someone was doing something bad before it even happened, and I didn't know that I could predict things. I thought I was just like good intuition. But it is really, really hard. And like, I don't have anyone to really talk to about it because I don't know anybody else that has my abilities. And like, like I said, like some people will say, oh, she's nuts. Oh, she's faking. She's this, that, and whatever. And like, I don't, think what you will, say what you will. It's fine. But if there is anybody in this community that sees this video that's a clairvoyant or a psychic, a shaman, like I burn sage to protect myself, but sometimes that's just a veil. It's called smudging, and it clears out negative energy so that you can only invite positive energy in. But like I said, sometimes that's a veil. Sometimes it only helps for a short while, and you have to do it like continuously. And like the people that are in the in-between, or the bad spirits, the spirits with ill intent, they want life. They want fear. They want to make attachments. And some people don't know, especially when they're doing things like a Ouija board, or they get one of these Dybbuk boxes, and like, or they go somewhere haunted and they don't know what they're playing with, because it's not a game. Life and death is not a game, right? We don't like knowing family or this, that, or someone dies and this way and it was horrible and tragic. So when you open up the board to speak to or connect with the dead, you don't know which players are going to come to play. And like I said, when I was younger, when I got hit, how do you fight something you can't see? How do you fight something that doesn't have a name? at that point in time, I couldn't. I had no way to protect myself until I learned how to as I got older. So now this video has gone on for like 20 minutes, and like I know I've jumped all over the place. I'll rewatch it and start writing things down. Yeah, so if there's anybody out there who is a medium, a shaman, a psychic, that has any of these senses just like I do, it would be great if you could reach out so that I don't feel so alone, because having this kind of power and ability it's rough. It's really rough, especially when someone like touches me, or I touch them and like I can sense something wrong with their body. You know, how do you go up to someone and say, hey, I have these abilities and I can sense there's something wrong with your lungs, or like that you have cancer, and like I haven't gone up to these people because they're just gonna be like, you're crazy, right? And like I get that, I understand that, and if I didn't have what I have, I might even think the same thing. But it's different, it's unique, and it's sometimes it gets overbearing. So I just wanted to put out there like what I can do, what I have, so that I can find the community that I can, you know, talk about this stuff with. There are people that could sense the dead as well, that I know personally when things started happening, when things started like moving in my home, when I used to be scared because I didn't know what to do or how to protect myself. And they were like, yeah, we can sense strong energies. Like in my house here, there's multiple spirits all the time. And I use, there's apps you can get on your phone that use the electric frequencies, and so that they can speak through. I've had names of the same people come up like months later, the same ones. But now, like I said, the floodgates are open, and like because of COVID and like so many people dying and so many people praying, there's so many like consistent like dead people trying to connect, that like it's become never ending, and it's my life, and it's something that I have to grow and deal with, which I don't mind doing. But it is like really, like I've said multiple times in the last like 5 minutes or whatever, really, really hard. It's cool at times, but again, it's very, very difficult and overwhelming, and it's hard to have a life for myself when I'm constantly, you know, and like I could say like, oh, like I'm just gonna block it out. At this point in time, like I can block it out to the best of my ability, but I can't block it out completely. And sometimes like I have to like do anything and everything I can to even be able to go to sleep. And yeah, I think I'm good on talking about this right now. So my name's Vicky, and I not only sing, but I can connect to the living and the dead. So if anybody knows anybody or has, you know, seen me or sensed me, I live in Pennsylvania. So if you guys could share this or forward it, if you have family members that have these kind of abilities, it would mean a lot to me to be able to connect to them and speak with them, so that I don't feel so alone having these abilities, because not everyone does. And it's like I've said, it's lonely. It's really lonely. So I'll leave it at that. Who knows? Maybe I'll make another singing video soon, or in videos about this. Maybe finally start releasing my own music. But right now I'm still in the process of dealing or coping with these skills. So this is Vicky signing off for now, and I'll catch you guys later.